What if I told you that the Romans had concrete that was stronger than what we use today, and we only just figured out why in the last few years? Or that ancient civilizations had batteries, automatic doors, and machines so advanced that modern engineers are still scratching their heads trying to understand how they built them? We like to think we're at the peak of human innovation, but history tells a completely different story. There are technologies from thousands of years ago that we literally cannot recreate today, even with all our fancy computers and manufacturing equipment. Some of these inventions were so far ahead of their time that when archaeologists first discovered them, they thought they had to be fake. So today, we're going deep into the world of lost technologies. The kind of stuff that makes you question everything you thought you knew about ancient people. Let's start with something that sounds completely impossible but is absolutely real. In 1900, some sponge divers off the coast of a Greek island found a shipwreck. And inside that shipwreck was a lump of corroded bronze that would change everything. This thing is called the Antikythera Mechanism, and it's basically an ancient Greek computer from around 100 BC that could predict astronomical positions and eclipses decades in advance. We're talking about a device with over 30 bronze gears, all precisely cut and arranged in a way that wouldn't be seen again until medieval. Clocks appeared more than 1,000 years later. The crazy part is that it took us until 2006, with modern X-ray technology and computer modeling, to fully understand how this thing actually worked. Think about that. A device so complex that it took modern scientists over a century to decode it, built when most people think ancient Greeks were just discussing philosophy in togas. And here's the really wild part. This can't have been the only one. So where are all the others? Now let's talk about Roman concrete, because this one is, honestly, kind of embarrassing for us. The Romans built structures 2,000 years ago that are still standing today, like the Pantheon in Rome with its massive unreinforced concrete dome, while our modern highways crumble after a few decades. Then, in 2023, scientists finally cracked the code. The Romans were using a specific type of lime that would react with water and literally heal cracks automatically. We're talking about self-healing concrete from 2,000 years ago, and we're only just now figuring out how to replicate it. But wait, it gets even stranger when we look at ancient chemistry and electricity. In 1936, archaeologists found a clay jar near Baghdad with a copper cylinder inside and an iron rod stuck through the middle. When they tested it, they realized this thing could generate an electric current if you filled it with an acidic liquid like vinegar. This is from around 200 BC. Essentially a battery sitting in a museum, making everyone question what else ancient people were doing with electricity. Let's shift gears and talk about Damascus steel, because this drives modern metallurgists absolutely crazy. Between 1100 and 1700, swordsmiths in the Middle East were forging blades that were incredibly strong, incredibly sharp, and incredibly flexible all at the same time. They could cut through a piece of silk falling through the air, but also chop through other swords without breaking. The secret was in the steel itself, which had these microscopic carbon nanotubes and carbide nanowires running through it. Yes, nanotechnology in medieval swords. Then, sometime around 1750, the ability to make true Damascus steel just vanished, and modern scientists still debate whether we've truly matched the original. Here's something that'll really mess with your head, Greek fire. The Byzantine Empire had this weapon that was basically ancient napalm, a liquid that would catch fire and keep burning even on water. The Byzantines guarded this secret so carefully that even today, over 1,000 years later, we still don't know exactly what Greek fire was made of. The recipe was kept so secret that when Constantinople fell in 1453, that knowledge died with the people who knew it. Now let's talk about automatic doors in ancient Egypt, which sounds like science fiction but is completely real. Hero of Alexandria, who lived in the 1st century AD, built all kinds of machines that seem impossibly advanced for their time. One invention was an automatic door system where temple doors would open when priests lit a fire on the altar, using heat expansion and water pressure. Two ancient worshippers. It must have seemed like pure magic. The gods themselves opening the doors when the sacred fire was lit. Hero also invented a coin-operated vending machine for holy water and even a primitive steam engine called an eolipile. That's right, a steam engine in 01 AD. But here's the tragedy. nobody saw the practical potential, treating them as clever toys instead of world-changing technologies. Let's get into something really mysterious. Ancient earthquake-resistant architecture built by the Inca. They built massive stone structures, like Machu Picchu, using stones cut so precisely that they fit together without mortars. And you can't even slide a paper between them. But the genius part is how they move during earthquakes. The stones actually shift and dance, then settle back into place when the shaking stops. Modern buildings need complex engineering and still fail sometimes, while these Inca structures have stood for over 500 years in one of the most seismically active regions. Here's something from ancient China that blows my mind. They were drilling for natural gas in the 3rd century BC using bamboo drilling rigs. They'd drill holes over 100 feet deep, capture the gas using bamboo pipes, and use it for heating, lighting, and making salt. This is sophisticated petroleum engineering happening more than 2,000 years ago, while Europe wouldn't seriously drill for oil or gas until the 1800s. Let's talk about ancient optics. The Nimrod lens is a piece of rock crystal from around 750 BC, ground and polished into a shape that can focus light. Some researchers think ancient people might have been using lenses like this as magnifying glasses or even in primitive telescopes, but we'll never know for sure. Speaking of the Romans, they also had underfloor heating systems called hypocausts, where hot air from fires would flow under floors and through walls. This is central heating in ancient Rome, 2,000 years ago. Plus they had aqueducts bringing fresh water into cities, using nothing but gravity and brilliant engineering. When Rome-fell, European cities actually got worse. They lost clean running water, sophisticated sewage systems, and urban planning that took over 1,000 years to match again. Here's something that still puzzles scientists. Ancient Greek amphitheaters like the one at where someone speaking normally on stage can be heard clearly over 200 feet away. No microphones, no electronics, just pure acoustic engineering that still works perfectly today. And modern researchers, with advanced software, still aren't entirely sure how they did it. Let's get into ancient medicine, because ancient Egyptians were performing brain surgery, where they drill holes in people's skulls, and we know patients survived because skulls show healed edges. Ancient Indians were performing cataract surgery and nose jobs thousands of years ago, with surgical techniques described in texts that are surprisingly sophisticated. Let's talk about Maya astronomy, because these people were tracking celestial objects with incredible accuracy without telescopes or computers. They had detailed records of Venus's cycles accurate to within hours over centuries, could predict eclipses, and had sophisticated calendars tracking multiple cycles simultaneously. When Spanish conquistadors showed up, they burned the books and destroyed records, so out of thousands of Maya codices, only 4 survived. Here's something from ancient Persia. They had refrigeration technology called yak saws, domed structures that could store ice in the middle of the desert. The design was so efficient that ice collected in winter would last through scorching summer heat, giving ancient Persians ice cream while most of the world had no refrigeration. Let's get into the Library of Alexandria, possibly the greatest collection of ancient knowledge ever assembled in one place. We're talking hundreds of thousands of scrolls containing philosophy, science, mathematics, literature, history, medicine, engineering, the accumulated knowledge of the ancient world. Tenny burned probably multiple times over centuries, and almost everything is lost forever, including countless inventions and discoveries we'll never know about. So why did all these technologies get lost in the first place? First, a lot of ancient knowledge wasn't written down but passed from master to apprentice, so if that chain broke through war or disease, knowledge vanished in one generation. Second, when civilizations fell, priorities changed to basic survival rather than maintaining complex infrastructure or preserving technical knowledge. Third, some knowledge was deliberately kept secret, and when you make something a secret, it risks dying with a few people who know it. Fourth, religious and cultural changes sometimes led to active destruction of knowledge. And fifth, sophisticated technologies require specific resources and economic stability that can disappear. The really mind-blowing thing is that we're probably still discovering these lost technologies in unexcavated sites and untranslated manuscripts. The lesson here isn't just that ancient people were smarter than we give them credit for. It's that human knowledge is fragile. Progress isn't guaranteed to keep moving forward, and we need to actively work to preserve what we know. Every one of these lost technologies represents a failure to pass knowledge forward, something we should think about in our own time. Hit subscribe if you want more like this.